Have you ever dropped 6,000 miles per hour backwards off the face of planet Mars? No, you haven't. And now I don't know where I'm going with this. Okay, my first peak roller coaster experience has to be when I first rode Nemesis. I was young, stupid. Wait, I'm still stupid. And I had no idea what I was about to experience here. So I strapped myself in, climbed that lift hill, dived into the corkscrew, and then this happened. Holy mother of G-force. I was pinned so hard into my seat that I nearly lost my chin at the bottom of Forbidden Valley. And I absolutely fell in love. At first I thought there is no way that this thing can be topped. Well, till I experienced the launch on Stealth. The launch so quick that my neck physically disintegrated because I forgot to put my head back. And now I'm paying for that. Doesn't matter how extravagant a layout is or how fancy the theming is. The key part about getting a peak roller coaster experience, in my opinion, is just the way it makes you feel at that specific time. And that's the feeling where you're just left with a grin on your face all the way through the entire roller coaster. And you come off buzzing and it's like you just want to go around and do it again. And I'll be honest, the launch on Stealth was that moment for many years to come. Until I got myself on Taron. There's a few moments on Taron which I could easily say was a peak moment. That first airtime hill, for example, has so much ejector. And that second launch where you kind of propel to like speeds of over 70 miles per hour in that trench, the noise, everything around it, like the theming, the waterfall, it just all comes together. But it's actually that bank turn that kind of goes across the wall of Klugheim. And then from there, the second half just kicks into gear. And honestly, that to me is... that was the peak moment for me for a long time again after that. But even though Taron remains to this day my #1 roller coaster, it still isn't the peak roller coaster moment for me. And that has to go to Formula Rossa at Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi. I'm not sure if it's the combination of, being with my wife at the time. This was our honeymoon, so it was an exciting time anyway. But it was that moment where you queued for the front. It was fairly early on in the day. We went straight on the front and pulled the lap bar down. It was so quiet, like we managed to get on probably within about 2 or 3 trains. And we crawled out into the heat. It was absolutely roasting. It was like an oven. And that feeling of launching 0 to 149 miles per hour is a moment I will never ever forget. At first it didn't feel much different to the likes of, say, Rita, so you kind of got a bit of a kick but nothing major. But when you reach, it must be past like the 100 miles per hour mark, you really feel the power of the Intamin hydraulic launch. And it's towards the end of that, and I just remember my face, I could feel my face pinning backwards into the seat. The adrenaline was surging. The heat, it was kind of like blow drying my face, and I just could not breathe. There was so much wind coming at me, I just couldn't breathe. It was insane. No words about it. That, to me, Formula Rossa at Ferrari World, the first time I ever went on that launch is the best feeling I've ever had on any roller coaster ever. There's been moments that have come close to beating Formula Rossa, but nothing has quite hit that peak for me. For example, I went on Zadra recently, and that 0G stall was something I've never ever experienced in my life. The whole world just flipped on its head, and for like 3 straight seconds of weightlessness in the air. That was an insane experience. But again, it just didn't give me that same rush, that same emotion as I had on Formula Rossa. So now I've shared my peak roller coaster moments, it's now over to Twitter to check out some of your peak roller coaster moments. Digital Dan, back row night ride on Zadra, the craziest thing I've ever experienced. I love Zadra. Zadra was brilliant. That's my #3 coaster. Again, it's all about that moment, you know what I mean? So I didn't experience Zadra at night. I did get it very close. It was about sunset time, and it was absolutely flying, so I can imagine at night it would be even more insane. Roller coasters at night in general just seem a million times better, don't you agree? Kieran Adams, has to be when me, Jack Silkstone, Archie and Archie Deeves had the last ride of the season on Shambhala as the fireworks were going off. Jack's reaction at the end sums it up. Let's have a look, shall we? Oh man, I miss Shambhala. That's been a coaster I haven't been on for a very long time. I remember the first time I went on that, and that was the very first B&M hypercoaster I've ever done as well. So airtime was pretty rare for me to like come across. So that first drop and the airtime hills on that, especially the ejector after the ampersand element, it just threw me out my seat, and I can feel the joy of that. Mia, the first time I rode Colossus after lockdown, it was the staff preview the day before we reopened to the public. Me and about 8 of my friends had the whole train to ourselves and we spread out. I spent most of the ride looking at my friends from back row and how happy we all were. You know, I'm open enough to admit I'm not a massive fan of Colossus at all, but with the right people, any ride can be, you know, such a good time. And I can definitely understand where you're coming from there. Especially when you've got like a good group of friends like that on there. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't matter what the ride is. It could be, you know, Hero. If you're with the right people, it's a good time. And if that's your peak roller coaster moment, you know, there we go. Luke, first time riding Taron. Fully expecting it to be crap due to the amount of enthusiasts that used to pleasure themselves over it. That second launch left me creaming more than cream fields. Yeah man, that second launch is just amazing. Smoggy Balboa, Chessington World of Adventures, Scorpion Express, interesting choice. Not a great ride by any stretch of the imagination, but it was the first coaster I shared with my then 2-year-old son. A memory that will never fade, can still hear him laughing. That is the nicest thing though, man. I cannot wait till I get to that point when I've got kids of my own and I can kind of, you know, I can bring them on like the Runaway Mine Train, Scorpion Express, and just see the joy in their faces, the joy that I once had when I was that age. That could definitely take Formula Rossa for me. Pleasure Beach Experience. Top Thrill Dragster. It wasn't my most anticipated coaster of the trip, but it felt like a glorious moment when I did it the first time. Special mention to Pepsi Mac Big One here. Doing that the first time was a massive milestone for my confidence and stopped me fearing most coasters. Yeah, that's a funny one with Top Thrill Dragster. Again, like if I went to Cedar Point, it won't be the one that's at the top of my list to do. It'd be Maverick, Steel Vengeance, you know, those would be my 2 highest. Even Millennium Force, really. But, you know, sometimes the coasters that you don't expect surprise you the most, and it adds to that peak experience. So, yeah, I can imagine that being an awesome time. A massive confidence boost for me was getting on Oblivion for the first time. That took me a lot of pushing to really do. So I kind of relate to that in that sense. The Drunk Riders podcast. The very first night ride on the voyage at night where it was dark. I mean, I couldn't see 2 rows in front of me dark. The ride is already insane, but that night ride, best single experience of my life, Marcus. I'm going to say a massive, massive hot take right here. And the voyage, in my opinion, is my most anticipated roller coaster in the world. It's the one roller coaster I want to get on. I can't explain it why. I just watch videos of it and I just think it looks awesome. It looks like it carries that pace through such a long roller coaster layout. You know, from start to finish, it just does not stop and it really takes you for a journey. And I can only imagine how awesome that is at night, so yeah, very jealous. Deflector. My first ever ride on a launch coaster was Stealth at Fort Park in the front seat. So I wasn't expecting the absolute power of that launch would be an understatement. Felt like my entire life lagged behind for a second, unreal. Before riding it, I dismissed Stealth as overrated and too short, when everyone in my school hyped it up to no end. Then I rode it. Stealth was absolutely worth the hype and I underestimated it heavily. But I guess the low expectations made my first ride much better. Yeah, this is where my theory comes into it from earlier. It's not about the layout. It's not about the theming. It's not about the statistics. It's about the experience you get. It doesn't matter, you know, if the layout is too short. If you get a buzz off a short layout that you've never got before on any other roller coaster, in my opinion, it's done its job. A lot of people dismiss people dismiss Formula Rossa for having a boring layout, but honestly, for what it does, it's fantastic, and I couldn't care less about the layout being a few bank turns and a couple of airtime mills, you know what I mean? Ramen and roller coasters. Mine has to be the front of Red Force at Ferrari Land with my other half in 2019. That was the fastest launch I ever did before I got on Formula Rossa. That's what, 111 miles per hour or something like that? It is so quick. And the height, it's the tallest coaster I've ever done as well. And I just remember peeking over the top of that and just seeing all of Salou just there in the open. I was just like, Jesus Christ, this is insane. And some awesome airtime. Yeah, I love that coaster, man. I just want to get back on it. Riding Thunder Dolphin for the first time at night on the front row. The clear night view of Tokyo was stunning and got me so hyped for the rest of the ride. The ride operator also explained the coaster by lobbing a dolphin plush into his control panel was an extra highlight. Again, I'm super jealous. That is another coaster that's been on my radar for so long. Hopefully one day I'll get to Tokyo and experience this coaster and many of the other coasters. Phil Jong, I can't choose between two experiences, riding Ring Racer 4 times as one of the few lucky roller coaster fans who had the chance to have this experience. And the other experience was on 15th of July 2017, the opening day of Dudo Dumper. That's hard to say. An amazing launch is unforgettable. How the hell have you got on Ring Racer? This is one coaster that's baffled me because I didn't even know it even opened. I think it opened for like a couple of days or something ridiculous. Caroline went on a night ride of Outlaw Run, got stuck at the top of the lift hill and was evacuated. I was buzzing, which is very weird. You can tell you're a theme park enthusiast when you say you're buzzing to be evacuated off a roller coaster. Also riding last ride of the night, front row on the Beast at midnight and having to run the whole length of the park to try and make it to the bus. You know what, I've never been evacuated off a roller coaster. I've been evacuated off Wallace and Gromit's Thrill-O-Matic, which was quite an interesting experience, walking through pretty much the entirety of the dark ride and seeing how everything's stuck, and it's like a behind the scenes kind of thing, man. It was quite fun. But yeah, I'm jealous. I do one day want to just experience what it's like to be evac'd, especially off an indoor coaster, because I always want to do it off like Hyperspace Mountain at Disneyland Paris. It'd be so cool to see all that with the lights on. I'd love it. Many thanks for watching, guys. What are your peak roller coaster moments? Let us know in the comments below. I just want to say a massive thanks to Nick and the guys for sending me this awesome Theme Park Fan the Musical poster. I'm on there somewhere. Can you see my name? It's there. Yeah, I just want to say a massive thanks for, getting me involved with this. This has been the best project I've ever been involved with. It is so much fun. And it's actually premiering tonight as I record this video, so it should be on YouTube now as we speak. So I'll link that in the description below if you want to check out Theme Park Fan the Musical. It'll mean a lot to me, and it'll mean a lot to the other guys who's got involved. John Wardley. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button. Smash subscribe for more content like this and give the bell a flick to keep all up to date. Videos on the left, merchandise on the right. Make sure to hit this button for the ride of your life. You've been watching ScrewyLoops. Try a bit.